Hello and welcome. My name is Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind the Country Chic Cottage. Today I'm going to do a super cool layering technique with Holographic Pearl HTV from Siser. Now, I'm going to show you up close here because the effect, you really have to see it up close in the camera to really get the idea of how this looks. So what you do is layer the holographic pearl on top of a design. And you can kind of see through it, but it gives a really cool effect to the HTV. It changes the color of your base layer. And as you move the shirt, the color alters and it just looks really cool. So I decided to play around with this technique a little bit. I'm going to show you how to do the technique first of all. So this shirt, we're going to make it. It's the word crafty. You can download the free SVG file below if you want to try this for yourself. So first of all, we're going to make the shirt just to see how the technique works. Like, how do you cut the layers? How do you get them on the shirt? And do you just put the holographic on top? Like tips and tricks of this layering technique. Then after I show you the technique, I'm going to show you a couple of shirts I've made where I did like a rainbow of different HTVs with the holographic pearl over the top. So I can show you like what the effect is on different colors of HTV and even different colors of shirt, because this is going to change with the colors that you use. So I made a couple shirts to help you pick the colors that you really like with this technique so you can give it a try for yourself. So first of all, let's take a look at the supplies we're going to use. And it is, I'm just going to note here, I'm going to note it a couple of times, but it is very important that you have the holographic rainbow pearl HTV from Siser because that's the one that works with this technique. For this project, you'll need heat resistant tape, some type of Teflon sheet or even butcher paper, easy press mat, and a heat source. I am going to use an easy press today. You're going to need your shirt to put your design on, and I'm going to use this Bella Canvas t-shirt. And you will need a weeding hook. Now for the HTV, you are going to need whatever base you're going to put it on. So that can be Siser Easy Weed, and I'm going to use 2 colors for my base, but you can just use 1 color. The important part of this technique is the rainbow pearl holographic HTV, and that's back here in the back here, and that is the important part. You must have the holographic pearl from Siser in order to do this. The other colors don't matter except that they will create different effects, and I will show you a shirt at the end of this video to help you choose your base colors. The base can just be Siser Easy Weed. So now let's head to Cricut Design Space and take a look at the design that I'm going to use. Go ahead and click Upload, Upload Image, click Browse and find the file on your computer. I do want to stress here that you need to upload the SVG file for the file that I am sharing for free. The other files will not work the same because of this layering technique and the way I have the file designed. Once you have the SVG uploaded, it will look like this, which is correct. Once we click Continue and Upload, it's going to look a little bit different actually on the canvas. It does have 3 layers. It is just that this top layer you can no longer see through it, but you will on our final design. You can ungroup this if you would like and move this bottom layer out of the way just to make sure everything looks correct. I'm going to do the word crafty in blue, the outline in pink, and then I'm going to leave this as a purple layer, but this represents my holographic rainbow pearl HTV from Siser, so I will need to use that for the purple layer. Now these HTV products will cut with any Cricut machine. I'm going to use my Explorer 4 today. I'm going to go ahead and click Make. I am going to cut these materials on a mat, and we will need to mirror each of these cuts. So we'll need to mirror the blue, we'll need to mirror the holographic, and we'll need to mirror the pink layer. Once we do that, we'll go ahead and click Continue and connect to the Cricut machine that you're using. Once the Cricut machine is connected, you will need to select your cut settings. When cutting Siser Easy Weed, I use the everyday iron-on setting. However, when I cut the holographic, I'm going to use the holographic iron-on setting for that rainbow pearl holographic from Siser. So now let's head to our Cricut machine and cut our iron-on materials. All of these HTV products, we're going to put them shiny side or carrier sheet side down onto the mat. Then just press them down really well into the adhesive, and we're ready to cut. The blue is first, so I'm going to go ahead and load that mat. Then just press go to cut. Once that's done cutting, we're going to unload, and I'm going to cut the other materials the same way. I'm going to have 2 layers of Siser Easy Weed as well as 1 layer of the Holographic Rainbow Pearl from Siser. And for each of these, you're going to want to go ahead and remove the material from the mat. I'm going to go ahead and cut around the outside edge so I can save any of the scraps. Then for each of these, you do want to go ahead and weed the material. So you're going to weed everything around the outside edge, as in the case of this pink material, and in the case of this blue material, you also want to do things like the centers of any letters. So I'm going to go ahead and weed all of my materials, and then we'll look at application and the layering technique. I have my Easy Press heating up to 305 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to press the first couple layers for about 10 seconds. So you might want to use both of these to kind of get an idea of what this is going to look like. We do need to press the pink layer first. The first thing I'm going to do is preheat my shirt, and I actually folded it in half because I'd like to get sort of a center line here to help me locate the design, and I'm just going to preheat with that folded in half. Then I can sort of crease the carrier sheet of the HTV about in the center, and then I can use that line to line it up. And I'm going to be about 2-3 fingers from the top here. So that looks really good, and I'm going to peel off this top layer. Then all we need right now is this first layer. Get everything in location. Then we want to press 305 degrees, 10 seconds, and this will not fit my entire design, so I'll press about half here, move it over, press the other half. Then once that first layer is pressed, we can peel this carrier sheet back. And this is a warm peel product, so it'll peel right back. Now, if you were using just 1 layer, you would go ahead and add your holographic pearl layer at this time. I am going to use 2 layers, however. So I'm going to go ahead and line up my second layer. I have that in location, however, there's some HTV sticking out, so I'm going to go ahead and put a Teflon sheet over the top, and then again press 305, 10 seconds, and I will need to move it to cover the entire thing. Once that time is up, we'll just remove that, remove the Teflon, then again just give a few seconds to cool, and we can peel off the carrier sheet of the second layer. Now it's time for the top layer, which is the holographic pearl. So I'm just going to get that into place over the base layer. Now the carrier sheet on this one is not as sticky as some of the other HTVs I use. So I use a couple pieces of heat resistant tape to hold it into place. I would not put that heat resistant tape all over any of this HTV. So I'm putting it on the shirt on the sides. Then because that HTV is sticking out, I'm going to cover that up. Now I have my heat press set for 320 degrees for 15 seconds. So I did need to wait for that to heat up, and it did just beep. And now I'm going to press one more time over the top of this. And again, I'll have to wait the 15 seconds, move it, and press the other half of my design. Then we'll lift that up. Go ahead and remove that Teflon. You may want to let this one cool off just a little longer. I'm using a DTF cooling block just to make it cool a little faster. Then once it's ready, we'll just peel back that carrier sheet. Now, if you have a line where your carrier sheet was, like where it was on this HTV, I do have a line. We can press this one more time. So put the Teflon over the top. This time only needs to be for a few seconds, and it'll just sort of release that line. And I'm just gonna press in a couple different locations and hopefully get rid of that line on the HTV. And that does look better. If it doesn't look better to you, you can definitely replace this and repeat that process until any lines look better to you. Now let's take a closer look at the results with this layering technique. So here is the shirt, and you can still read the word crafty. However, as I turn it in the light, this bottom half just changes to different colors, and it just has a super cool effect. And of course you can use different colors to get a variety of effects here, but I just love the way this turned out. So how do different colors look with this technique? Let's take a look. So this is a black shirt, and I used a rainbow of HTV products on it, and then put the holographic pearl on top of the last half of the word. So for instance, this is yellow, a dark blue, and a white on a black shirt. And as I move that, you can kind of see the effect that you get and how it changes depending on the color of the HTV. Then this is a light pink and a light blue, and again, different effects depending on the color. And finally, a black and a red, different effects. Now, the darker I got, say with the black on the black, of course, the harder it was to see, but I did want to go ahead and use those just so you could see the effect. The same colors of HTV on a white shirt, so yellow, dark blue, and white, get a little bit of a different effect. So the base color seems to play a role in the effect that you'll get with these as well. Here's the pink and the light blue on the white, and the black and the red on the white as well. So for instance, if I lay these together, you can see that the effects seem to be a little bit different depending on your base layer color. So the color of the HTV that you use, as well as the base color of the shirt, could have an effect on what your final project looks like. Okay, so now that you've seen these shirts up close, you can kind of decide what color combination you think will look best on your shirt. I felt like these helped me quite a bit decide what I thought would look best. Now, the other thing I was worried about, like this is 3 layers. I did 2 layers of the Easy Weed, and then I put the holographic on top. I was worried about it being very stiff, and it's not too bad. So I am pleasantly surprised with the feel of this as well. Now, it does feel like HTV, it does feel like 3 layers of HTV, but I probably could wear this shirt, and a lot of like the thicker holographics, I just cannot wear them because they feel so thick, like the feel on the shirt. So I do like the feel of this one, and I think you're really gonna like it. So now, all that's left for you to do is to give this super cool technique a try. Now you can try it with the file that I have, but you can use any file with this. I think it's kind of cool to have part of the design exposed. So part of it just regular HTV, and then part of it with the holographic over the top. For me, that makes it very cool so you can kind of see the difference. However, you could layer holographic over an entire design and change the look of the entire design. So hopefully this inspired you to make something very creative with your Cricut machine and Siser HTV. Now I am linking to all the supplies I used in the description below this video, so head there to pick up those supplies. Remember that it only works with the Rainbow Pearl holographic from Siser. No other holographics will work because the HTV won't show through the holographic, so keep that in mind. However, those base layer colors are completely up to you. So thank you all so much for joining me today. If you liked this video and it helped you, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions about this layering technique, drop down in the comment section, ask away. And if you haven't already, head on over to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. I have videos just like this one every single week, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of those. Thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.